Josh stood in one spot and we all kind of stood in the line, and he just went.
As long as I get to stand by the fire.
It's 9 o'clock.
Stop being a baby.
All right, we are live, Caleb.
Oh, you want to turn off the music?
Right now.
What up? This is Dr. Dre.
Dre's joining us this month.
Well, thank you guys for coming out. We got a lot of miles this month. December was rough for law enforcement. We had 19 officers down in the line of duty. I went back looking at some of the stats that I put in the monthly newsletter, but I went and looked at some of the stats for this year compared to last year, and overall I think awareness is getting out. There's several organizations, including ours, that are getting the word out about the dangers of law enforcement. And I think the bridging the civilian to law enforcement gap is making a difference because the numbers are trending down. But before we get going today, we're going to go ahead and start with reading these officers, and so that we know exactly who each mile is for and each step is for. Sergeant Joshua Eli Voth, Colorado Department of Corrections, end of watch Wednesday, December 4th, 2019. Sergeant Joshua Voth was killed when a boiler exploded at the Fremont Correctional Facility in Cannon City. The explosion occurred at about noon when the boiler suffered catastrophic failure. Sergeant Voth had served with the Colorado Department of Corrections for 3 years. He is survived by his wife and 3 children.
Agent Billy Fred Clardy III, Huntsville Police Department, Alabama. End of watch, Friday, December 6, 2019. Agent Billy Clardy III was shot and killed while participating in a narcotics operation with the HIDTA Gulf Coast Task Force. The task force was conducting a buy-bust operation at a home on Levert Street near the intersection of Oakwood Avenue at 4 p.m. Agents attempted to take the suspect into custody as the man delivered a large amount of narcotics to the home. The man immediately opened fire, striking Agent Clardy in an area not protected by his vest. The man then fled on foot but was taken into custody after a short foot pursuit. He was charged with capital murder. Agent Clardy was a U.S. Army veteran. He had served with the Huntsville Police Department for 14 years and had previously served with the Limestone County Sheriff's Office, the Ardmore Police Department, and the Fayetteville, Tennessee Police Department. He is survived by his wife, 5 children, 2 brothers, and his mother. Agent Clardy's father, police officer Billy Clardy Jr., was also killed in the line of duty while serving with the Huntsville Police Department. Officer Clardy Jr. was killed in a vehicle crash on May 3, 1978.
Chief Deputy Bobby Jacobs suffered a fatal heart attack several hours after responding to assist at a scene of a barricaded subject who had threatened to kill law enforcement officers. Another deputy had attempted to serve a warrant on the man, but he barricaded himself inside of his home. Chief Deputy Jacobs responded to the scene, and the man was eventually taken into custody. He reported to duty the following day and handled a call for service. He returned to the sheriff's office where he collapsed a short time later. Chief Deputy Jacobs had served in law enforcement for 23 years. He is survived by his 3 daughters. End of watch, December 16, 2019.
Police Officer Stephen Paul Carr, Fayetteville Police Department, Arkansas. End of watch, Saturday, December 9th, 2019. Police Officer Stephen Carr was shot and killed in an unprovoked attack as he sat in his patrol car in Fayetteville Police Department near a rear parking lot, at 9:40 p.m. He was waiting for his partner to return from inside the police station when a subject approached him and opened fire without warning, killing him. Officers inside the station heard the shots and immediately responded. They pursued the subject into an alley next to the police station and fatally shot him in an exchange of gunfire. Officers and paramedics provided aid to Officer Carr, but he succumbed to his wounds. Officer Carr had served with the Fayetteville Police Department for 2.5 years and was assigned to the bicycle unit. Age 27, tour. 2 years, 8 months, badge 413.
Sergeant Christopher Charles Lewis Brewster, Houston Police Department, Texas. End of watch, Saturday, December 7, 2019. Christopher Charles Lewis Brewster was shot and killed while responding to a domestic assault at about 6 p.m. A woman had called 911 and reported that she had been assaulted by her boyfriend and that he was armed with 2 firearms. When officers arrived at the scene, both subjects had already left. Sergeant Brewster was checking the area when he saw the couple walking in the 7400th block of Avenue L. Sergeant Brewster attempted to contact them but was fired upon as he exited his patrol car. Despite being struck in the chest above his vest, he was able to give dispatchers and other officers a description of his wounds and his subject's directions of travel. Sergeant Brewster was transported to Memorial Hermann Hospital where he succumbed to his wounds. The man was arrested by other officers following a foot pursuit. He was subsequently charged with capital murder. Sergeant Brewster had served with the Houston Police Department for 9 years. He is survived by his wife, parents, and 3 sisters.
Detective Joseph Seals, Jersey City Police Department, New Jersey, end of watch Tuesday, December 10th, 2019. Detective Joseph Seals was shot and killed at 12:30 p.m. in Bayview Cemetery after encountering 2 subjects, a man and woman, in a van that was linked to a homicide in New Jersey. During the encounter, Detective Seals was shot in the back of the head. The 2 subjects fled in a stolen van and eventually barricaded themselves inside a kosher grocery store on Martin Luther King Drive. They murdered 3 people inside of the store and engaged responding officers in a prolonged shootout for several hours in which 2 officers were wounded. Both subjects were eventually shot and killed by officers during the shootout. A live pipe bomb was found inside the van, and the 2 had abandoned before entering the store. It is believed that the subjects were part of a radical religious movement, held anti-Jewish and anti-law enforcement views, and specifically targeted the kosher grocery store in an act of religious terrorism. Detective Seals had served on the Jersey City Police Department for 13 years and had served in law enforcement for a total of 18 years. He is survived by his wife and 5 children.
Sergeant Kayla Marie Sullivan, Nassau Bay Police Department, Texas, end of watch Tuesday, December 10th, 2019. Sergeant Kayla Sullivan was killed when she was intentionally struck by a vehicle driven while attempting to arrest a wanted subject in the 2000 block of San Sebastian Court at 8:30 p.m. Officers had conducted a traffic stop on the man who was wanted for a warrant for domestic assault. When they attempted to place him in custody, he began to resist and was able to re-enter his vehicle. He struck fatally Sergeant Sullivan as he fled the area in the vehicle. Sergeant Sullivan was transported to HCA Clear Lake Hospital, where she succumbed to her wounds. The vehicle was found abandoned a short distance away. The man was arrested on December 12th, 2019. Sergeant Sullivan had served with the Nassau Bay Police Department for 16 years. She is survived by her wife and son.
Constable Eula Ray Hawkins, Panola County Constable's Office, Mississippi. End of watch, Thursday, December 12th, 2019. Constable Ray Hawkins was killed when his vehicle was struck by a stolen pickup truck being pursued by other officers at around 2:30 p.m. The pursuit started in Tallahatchie County, when deputies attempted to stop the stolen vehicle that was occupied by 2 juvenile offenders. The juveniles led the deputies on a pursuit that entered Panola County and continued towards Batesville. Constable Hawkins was responding to assist in the pursuit when the vehicle struck his car at a high rate of speed at the intersection of Route 35 and Route 6, causing him to suffer fatal injuries. Both juveniles were taken into custody and charged as adults with felony murder. Constable Hawkins had served in law enforcement for 29 years. His son is a police officer with the Batesville Police Department and was one of the first officers on scene following the crash.
Deputy Chief Vincent DiMarino died as a result of cancer that he developed following his assignment to the search and recovery efforts at the World Trade Center site following the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Deputy Chief DiMarino had served with the NYPD for 27 years. On the morning of September 11, 2001, 72 officers from a total of 8 local, state, and federal agencies were killed when terrorist hijackers working for the Al-Qaeda terrorist network headed by Osama bin Laden crashed 4 hijacked planes into the World Trade Center's towers in New York City, the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, and a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. After the impact of the first plane into the World Trade Center's North Tower, putting the safety of others before their own, law enforcement officers, along with fire and EMS personnel, rushed to the burning twin towers of the World Trade Center to aid the victims and lead them to safety. Due to their quick actions, it is estimated that over 25,000 people were saved. As the evacuation continued, the South Tower unexpectedly collapsed as a result of the intense fire caused by the impact. The North Tower collapsed a short time later. 71 law enforcement officers, 343 members of the New York City Fire Department, and over 2,800 civilians were killed at the World Trade Center site. A third hijacked plane crashed into a field in rural Pennsylvania when the passengers attempted to retake control of the plane. One law enforcement officer who was a passenger on the plane was killed in that crash. A fourth hijacked plane was crashed into the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, killing almost 200 military and civilian personnel. No law enforcement officers were killed at the Pentagon on 9/11. The terrorist attacks resulted in a declaration of war against the Taliban regime, the illegal rulers of Afghanistan, and the Al-Qaeda terrorist network, which also was based in Afghanistan. On September 9, 2005, all of the public safety officers killed on September 11, 2001 were posthumously awarded the 9/11 Heroes Medal of Valor by President George W. Bush. The contamination in the air at the World Trade Center site caused many rescue personnel to become extremely ill and eventually led to the death of several rescue workers. On May 1st, 2011, members of the United States military conducted a raid on a compound in Batu, Pakistan, and killed Osama bin Laden. In the watch, Friday, December 6, 2019.
Private First Class Michael Sean Latu, Marion County Sheriff's Office, South Carolina. End of watch, Tuesday, December 17th, 2019. Private First Class Mike Latu was killed in a single vehicle crash while responding to a call for service at 1:05 a.m. His vehicle left the roadway on US 76 and struck a bridge pillar underneath US 501 bypass. Private First Class Latu had served with the Marion County Sheriff's Office for 5 years and had previously served as a dispatcher. In 2018, he was recognized for both Deputy of the Year and Patrolman of the Year. Tour 5 years, badge number not available.
Sergeant Anthony Gillespie Jr., United States Department of Defense, Naval District, Washington Police Department, U.S. Government. End of watch, Wednesday, December 18, 2019. Sergeant Anthony Gillespie was killed in a single vehicle crash near the intersection of Route 224, Chickamuxon Road and Sweden Point Road in Indian Head, Maryland, at approximately 2:30 a.m. His patrol car left the roadway and struck a tree that fell onto the car, causing it to catch fire. He was on patrol in the area of Naval Support Facility Indian Head when the crash occurred. Age 34, tour not available, badge not available.
Sergeant Scott Johnson, New York City Police Department, New York. End of watch, Thursday, December 9th, 2019. Sergeant Scott Johnson died as the result of cancer that he developed following his assignment to the search and recovery efforts at the World Trade Center site following the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Sergeant Johnson had served with the New York City Police Department for 23 years, and he's survived by his wife and 7 daughters. On the morning of September 11, 2001, 72 officers from a total of 8 local, state, and federal agencies were killed when the terrorist hijackers working at the Al-Qaeda terrorist network headed by Osama bin Laden crashed into 4 hijacked planes into the World Trade Center towers in New York City, the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, and a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. After the impact of the first plane, the World Trade Center's North Tower, putting the safety of others before their own, law enforcement officers along with fire and EMS personnel rushed to the burning twin towers of the World Trade Center to aid the victims and led them to safety. Due to their quick actions, it is estimated that over 25,000 people were saved. As the evacuation continued, the South Tower unexpectedly collapsed as a result of the intense fire caused by the impact. The North Tower collapsed a short time later. 71 law enforcement officers, 343 members of the New York City Fire Department.
Deputy Sheriff Bryan Charles Luger, San Jacinto County Sheriff's Office, Texas. End of watch, Saturday, December 21st, 2019. Deputy Sheriff Bryan Fluger was killed in a vehicle crash at the intersection of Hill Land and Davy Land in Cold Spring at 6:45 p.m. He was responding to a burglary call and traveling behind another deputy. As a deputy in the first patrol car slowed to make a turn, Deputy Luger swerved to avoid a rear-end collision. Deputy Luger's patrol car clipped the other patrol car and then overturned. Deputy Luger, who was not wearing a seatbelt, was ejected from the vehicle and sustained fatal injuries. Deputy Luger was a U.S. Army National Guard veteran. He had served with the San Jacinto County Sheriff's Office for 4 years and had previously served with the Taylor County Sheriff's Office and Rising Star Police Department. He is survived by his son, mother, father, sister, and brother. Age 36, tour 4 years, badge number 33, military veteran.
Police Officer Jose Umberto Meza, Burnett Police Department, Texas, end of watch Friday, December 20th, 2019. Police Officer Jose Meza suffered a fatal heart attack following extensive training with his canine partner, Kuzo. He and Kuzo had conducted canine tracking training for several hours with other canine units. At the end of the training, Officer Meza told the officers he was not feeling well and returned home. The following morning, his wife called 911 and reported a medical emergency. Officer Meza was transported to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead. Officer Meza had served with the Burnett Police Department for 1 year and had previously served with Llano County Sheriff's Office for 2.5 years. He is survived by his wife, 2-year-old daughter, parents, and sister.
Detective Clifton Martinez, San Antonio Independent School District Police Department, Texas. End of watch, Saturday, December 21st, 2019. Detective Cliff Martinez was intentionally struck and killed by a vehicle after he broke up a fight at an IHOP restaurant at 739 Hot Wells Boulevard at about 3 a.m. He was working secondary employment at the restaurant when the fight broke out between several patrons. Detective Martinez was able to move the subjects out of the restaurant and into the parking lot, where he was attacked by at least 2 people and knocked to the ground. While he was still on the ground, the subjects entered a car and intentionally ran him over, pinning him under the vehicle. They then fled on foot and remained at large. One of the subjects was arrested approximately 12 hours later and charged with murder. Detective Martinez had served with the San Antonio Independent School District Police Department for 28 years and had previously served with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. Badge number 2173, tour for 28 years.
Deputy Sheriff Cooper Dyson, Pierce County Sheriff's Department, Washington. End of watch Saturday, December 21st, 2019. Deputy Sheriff Cooper Dyson was killed in a single vehicle crash in the 1300 block of 112th Street East while responding to backup other deputies as a domestic violence incident in Parkland. The deputies who responded to the initial incident at 3 a.m. were immediately attacked by a male subject who engaged them in a violent struggle. The deputies believed the man was attempting to access a shotgun that was inside the home and called for backup during the struggle. Deputy Dyson was responding to their call for assistance when his vehicle left the roadway and struck a commercial building. A passerby called to report the crash, and Deputy Dyson was found deceased by responding deputies and rescue personnel. Deputy Dyson was a military veteran and had served with the Pierce County Sheriff's Department for 2 years. He is survived by his expectant wife and 2-year-old child. Age 25, tour 2 years, badge 579, military veteran.
Master Patrol Officer Spencer Bristol, Henderson Police Department, Tennessee. End of watch Monday, December 30th, 2019. Master Patrol Officer Spencer Bristol was struck and killed by a vehicle while involved in a foot pursuit of a subject across I-65 near Vietnam Veterans Boulevard in Davidson County. Officers had started pursuing a vehicle with 2 occupants in Hendersonville. The pursuit continued through Goodlestonville until crashing at the interchange. One of the subjects was taken into custody, but the second man fled on foot. Officer Bristol was fatally struck by a vehicle as he ran across I-65. The subject he was chasing continued to flee and remains at large. The subject who was arrested at the scene was charged with reckless endangerment and felony evading. Officer Bristol was a U.S. Navy veteran and had served with the Hendersonville Police Department for 4 years. He is survived by his wife and 3-year-old daughter. Age 31, tour 4 years, badge 504, military veteran.
Police Officer Jerry Clyde Singleton, Fairfield Glade Police Department in Tennessee. End of watch Tuesday, December 31st, 2019. Police Officer Jerry Singleton suffered a suspected pulmonary embolism as a result of an injury sustained on August 6, 2017, when he was struck by a hit-and-run driver during a traffic stop while serving the Kingston Police Department. On December 31st, 2019, he was found unresponsive inside of the police station shortly after starting his shift working with the Fairfield Glade Police Department. On August 6, 2017, he had conducted a traffic stop of a suspected drunk driver on Highway 58 near Southwest Point Golf Course. The driver initially stopped, but when the officer Singleton asked for his driver's license, the man put his vehicle into drive and sped away from the stop. A car carrier being pulled by the pickup truck struck Officer Singleton, fracturing one of his legs. He was able to return to duty 6 months later, but blood clots began to develop as a result of the injury. It is believed he suffered a fatal pulmonary embolism as a result of one of the blood clots. The driver who struck him was convicted of several charges. Ironically, the subject lost an appeal on the convictions on the day that Officer Singleton passed away. Officer Singleton had served in the Fairfield Glade Police Department for 7 months and had served in law enforcement for 30 years. He was a U.S. Army veteran and had previously served with the Harriman Police Department at the Kingston Police.
Deputy Sheriff Chris Dickerson, Panola County Sheriff's Office, Texas. End of watch Tuesday, December 31st, 2019. Deputy Sheriff Chris Dickerson was shot and killed while making a traffic stop on FM 10 near FM 2260 in Gary City at 2 a.m. During the stop, the driver suddenly exited the vehicle and opened fire with a semi-automatic rifle, shooting Deputy Dickerson 6 times. Nearby residents who heard the gunshots found Deputy Dickerson in the roadway. He was transported to a local hospital where he died a short time later. The subject who shot him fled to Shreveport, Louisiana, where he was apprehended by a police canine after being involved in a vehicle crash. He remains in custody awaiting extradition on capital murder charges. Deputy Dickerson was a U.S. Army veteran and had served with the Panola County Sheriff's Office for 8 years. He is survived by his wife and 2 daughters.
So I think there's one. I think there's one more.
We got one more?
Yeah, we're right them all.
Okay, all right. Thank you guys. We'll get started on these miles and honor all these officers.